Hello there! Today, in the Ancient City project, we're finally upgrading some machines. I've done some prep and a little bit of testing, so I have an idea as to how this is gonna go, but I don't think I've shown much of the machines I've been using so far. Maybe we should start with that. This here is the first machine I made, actually while I was starting the demolition of the city, the cobblestone generator. It's not super fast, but it's always running, and it was enough for me to easily have plenty of cobblestone to fill in the holes in the ground left over from removing skulk, with plenty left over. The mechanism itself is pretty straightforward. This waterlogged copper grate and the lava trapped in this little box make the cobblestone. And then back here we have a mechanical drill that just breaks that every few seconds. And honestly, we can ignore the mess of gears back here. I have since learned better ways to do this. I just never bothered to fix it. But once that cobblestone breaks, it goes into the hopper here, which feeds into a dropper. Which, once that fills up, this little circuit here will go off, and it will trigger the packager, which will then pull all of that out and feed it into a storage crate. Now, I use a dropper as the container because it has 9 slots, and packages in Create can hold up to 9 stacks of items. So it actually works perfectly for this. The nice thing about these crates is they can hold a ton of items, and right now it's sitting at 48. But I think the highest this got one time was about 90 packages, which is about the equivalent of 135 double chests, give or take. I use a lot of that in the other machines because with the Create mod, you can process cobblestone into other materials like gravel or sand, which you can process even further into things like clay or even iron, which is where the single process machines come in. The first one I'd like to show you is the crusher. This is just a pair of crushing wheels hooked up to some mechanical belts and a similar packaging system to the cobblestone generator. All of my machines so far have this, since it makes taking large amounts of items out of storage really easy. I also have packages as the input as well, since usually when I load this up with cobblestone, I'll put about 30 packages in the chest up here, usually to make gravel so I can get iron. I don't actually have villages because I disabled them as a bit of a challenge, so this is the easiest way for me to get iron. Once everything has been through, I have a little button here to empty the barrel, since this process is a little more complicated than the cobblestone. I just sometimes forget to empty it. That leads me to my last machine, and this is a bit of a fun one. This here is the smelter, washer, smoker, and hunter. Yes, all 4. All of these processes use the same setup with the encased fan, and I didn't really have space for more than one, and I didn't really want to build that many, so I just manually switch out what's in front of the fans. Kind of like this. And then turn the machine on, and let it go. This definitely isn't ideal, since I can't use the smelter for things like stone or smelting ores, while also using the washer to get iron from gravel or clay from sand. It technically works, but it's also super slow since it only has 1 lane. I can't just speed it up to make it faster because the items need to be in the flames or the water for a certain amount of time, but I did manage to make it a little bit faster by changing out one of the andesite funnels for a brass one. The andesite funnel can only pull 1 item out of a container at a time, while a brass funnel can pull multiple out at a time, up to a stack. I can only get so many through at once though, since larger stack sizes take longer to process. So clearly I have a lot of room for improvement. My main goal for these machines is to get them all to be faster, because I don't mind waiting a few minutes for a large quantity of items, but right now it's much closer to an hour, if not much longer. I also want each machine to have some sort of shutoff, so they're not always on. And it could be nice to play around with things like adding lights to indicate whether it's on, or maybe some fancy startup effects, just because I can. That being said, I think I want to start with the smelter. It should be the simplest of the encased fan machines because I kind of want to try some things out on the other two. I want to make some kind of switcher for the different types of fire so that the smoker and haunter can be the same machine. And for the washer, I'm gonna need some kind of item sorter that can reset itself, because a lot of materials have two resulting items when they're processed, and I don't want them getting stuck. I feel like I should just say this now, but I'm not an expert in any of this. I've been learning the Create mod through in-game guides only, because I want to take the time to learn it myself instead of just following tutorials. I just personally tend to learn better that way, but my main goal for this base is just to automate enough for me to get materials for building projects so I don't have to spend hours wandering around gathering them. I wouldn't consider this a tutorial, but I do hope the way I look at this is at least interesting, if not helpful in some way. I really enjoy problem solving, and this is just another way for me to practice that. But that does mean that some things are not going to be the most efficient right away. Now, I have some options in how I could lay this out, but I think I'm going to go with having the input on one side, the output on the other, with a window into it in the middle. And I think I'm going to put the input on the right over here, since the room next to it is the storage room, and it might be cool to have the option to use it from there. I don't think it's super necessary, but it could be a nice feature. So, for the input, I'm going to be making a more compact version of the packager system I've been using, but instead of a dropper, I'm going to be taking advantage of the item vaults from Create. These are actually really great because they can hold a ton of items. You just can't open them. You can use things like hoppers or packagers or funnels to push things in or pull things out, which is pretty much how this is gonna work. Okay, I think that should work. Now I just need some belts to carry everything. If I add a vault at the end, I shouldn't have to worry about it backing up at all, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. Plus, they're super satisfying to actually place. Now I just need some gearboxes to get the belts moving, and we should be good. Well, okay, one more thing. I need to actually put the funnels on. There we go. That should be right. Just hang on. Actually, this is not gonna work. Because this right here is where the last fan is gonna go, and that is definitely in the way, so I'm gonna have to figure out a way to move that. Maybe if I just turn the belt one more time, that should work? Ideally? Okay, this should work a lot better. Hang on. So now I think it's just a matter of getting it to move to make sure it's actually working properly. Alright, I have a temporary water wheel set up, and I actually think this is a good speed for it. I'm not entirely sure. But I'm gonna go grab some netherrack so we can test and see how this is looking so far. So if everything is working correctly, I just placed a package in here, and it looks like it's working. Although that's a stack, and I don't think that's gonna work, so we're gonna just bump that down to like 16. That should work, I think. I mean, this way between the four of them, there should be a stack coming out, like once a second, or however fast the belts are. Okay, yeah, I think I like that spread better, because I should be able to actually push it through the smelter a lot faster since it's a smaller stack size per belt. I should probably actually get started on the fans since this part technically works, but I don't know if the entire thing works yet, so let's get started on that. Thankfully, encased fans are probably one of the easiest things to actually set up in the Create mod. The hardest part seems to be just making sure they're going the right direction and the right speed. Now I just have to place some lava up above it. I've left some room to hopefully add some pistons later so we can shut it off. But for now this should work. I'm just gonna go ahead and connect all of these using a mechanical belt, because that is probably the simplest way to do it. And the cheapest. Now I just have to figure out how to actually hook it up to the gears. Hopefully this goes well. Now that I've got it moving, I just need to make sure everything is going the right direction. And it's not. Okay. Speed-wise it looks okay though, so we just need to figure out how to reverse it. Cool. And we are not going to judge my temporary gear setups. I should be able to make this work though. Let me see. Okay, now it's working. It may need to be a little faster, but we can go ahead and test it. Okay, cool. So the fact that that's getting smoke particles means that it is reaching and that turned really fast. Okay. That means I should be able to make the belt faster. So that's definitely going to be good, because that means that it's going to process everything faster. Okay, so I did kind of do something that made everything really slow to begin with, so let's see if I did that right. Okay, that is significantly faster. I don't know if that's going to be too fast though. Let's see. Going through, it's getting the smoke particles. And it didn't even touch it. Actually, I don't even think any of them are getting turned, so that is not gonna work. That is way too fast. That is also good to know. Okay, now I've done some adjustments with the gears. Again, I know this is not the most efficient way to do this, that's fine. It was going backwards for a second, but I fixed it. So, I actually think this is the same speed as before. That's not ideal. The ways I've been using either double or halve the speed of things, and the issue is this is too slow, the other speed is too fast. I do think there is something I could use. I don't really know that much about it. It's called like a speed controller or something. The rotation speed controller. I think that's what I need. Let me look. Relay rotation to a large cogwheel above them. Okay. Can be configured. That is probably actually exactly what we need. Okay, yeah, that seems to be right. It can also be reversed. That's good. Okay. Cool. So how do you make that? What is the precision mechanism? Hang on. So we use a deployer to push those onto a gold sheet 5 times? Is that a... Surely that's not what that means. And there's an 80% chance of getting it. Cool. I love that. Okay, I might just go see if I can make a few of these, because I think this is actually exactly what I need. And let's just hope I can figure it out. I got it. Ta-da! This should make this so much easier to get this to go the speed we want. I just actually have to set up the water wheel again. Because yeah, I'm still, for now, sticking with that. Okay, now I have that moved. Oh, I just hope that's going the right way. It doesn't look like it is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Nope. Okay. On the bright side, they're both going the wrong way. which means I should just be able to reverse this? Yeah. Engineers hate this simple trick. Nice. Some of those are gonna burn up. That's okay. It does look like it's working though, so now we just get to play around with the speed a little bit. So I have it going at 16, and this does feel faster than the other speed, and it looks like it turns about halfway, which to me just says that we can make it a little bit faster, and it should still work. So now that we can fine tune it, let's just try bumping it up, I don't know, 4, so it's 20? And we broke it. Good to know. Okay, so I could fix this by being smart and investing in a steam engine, but I don't quite know how to use those yet, and I kind of want to just get this up and running. We can make it fancy later, but for now, I'm gonna do a little bit of a cheaty kind of thing, which is that you can just put multiple water wheels next to each other, and they can put out more force, which should fix the overstressing. I'm probably gonna swap this later, but I just want to get this working, so we're gonna just do that instead. Okay, I probably only actually needed one, but I'm gonna just make this overkill and add a second one, or I guess a third one, just to make sure it's not gonna break anytime soon. We can remove some later if we need to. But for now, it's moving again, which is great, so we can go back to testing. Although it does seem like the fire is spreading a little bit further, so I have to be especially careful with that. Okay. Oh, looks like my little spot is not quite as safe now. You just have to stay right there. So at 20, let's see. Okay. So second to last. I mean, I could try to bump it up again. That is going so fast though. I'm so excited to get this fine-tuned, honestly. Because this is looking so great so far. Let's just try not to catch ourselves on fire. Alright, 24. Let's see if that makes a big difference. The wheels are holding up. Everything is working. And now my spot feels even less safe. Cool. Okay. So now we just carefully watch this. And let's see. Okay, in the back lanes, it looks like it is just turning out. Okay. Yeah, my spot's not safe anymore. Let's see if we can get away with 28. I worry this might be a little too fast. Yeah, my spot is definitely gone now. Okay. I don't really know where to stand, so I don't catch myself on fire. But, let's see. Oh, that is right at the end, and the ones behind are not getting turned. We'll just go over here. So it looks like 24 is actually the maximum we can go. And I am honestly okay with that because that actually feels pretty fast. So at least this way I get my little spot back. Cool. So now we actually need to maybe get around to building the output, since I've just been kind of just grabbing things out of the item vault, and I kind of need it to be pulled automatically. This should be fairly simple. It's pretty much the same packaging unit that the cobblestone generator has on it, since this should only have one output per type of material. It's just a bit of a tight squeeze because I'm going to need to have a belt run from the actual item vaults into the dropper. And I don't know if that's the right angle, but we will figure that out. I did at least figure out that the second repeater that I had on these was actually not necessary, so at least this should be a smaller circuit, so that should all power just fine. And I don't think I'm going to be able to use a redstone block here because I don't actually want to risk actually powering the funnel, because powering a funnel turns it off, so I'm gonna have to probably use the decorated pot trick. So let me go grab that real quick. Okay, a decorated pot full of flint does not itself output a signal, so we should be fine. I'm just gonna be here for a bit. Okay, well now it's time to just install some funnels and a tiny little belt that just carries items between them. There we go. Okay. I think I should just have to power that and we should be good. Okay, that is going in the right direction, so we're good. So now, items should go from here to here, fill up the dropper, and then it should power the packager. Now, I am going to have to figure out a way to maybe manually power that, so that if it's not completely full, I can still empty it. So, we'll have to figure that out probably later. But for now, I think this works, so I think it might be a good idea to test it. I still can't really get over how fast that is. It's like, what, 30 seconds? Something like that? But now, once it's done, I do believe that should actually fire off just fine. And there we go. Cool. It works. Now that I know it's actually working properly, let's make it a little fancier. One of the ways I wanted this to be able to shut off was to use pistons to essentially just block the flow of lava, so I went ahead and got some of those installed. Thankfully, the wrench from Supplementaries made placing the pistons a lot easier, and then it was just a matter of getting the redstone hooked up. Okay, so now I should just have to power this somehow. And that should cut off all of the lava so that it's not flowing anymore. Okay, there is gonna have to be a delay between when that happens and when the belts start up, because I don't want items coming out and getting into position before the lava actually has a chance to come down. We'll have to figure that out. Of course, I didn't quite get around to that right away. I may have gotten a little distracted installing some lights instead. I put some corundum lamps above the window so that I can indicate whether the machine is on, and then some below it, partially for symmetry, but also so I could use them to indicate how much stuff is left in the item vault. It is a really simple version of this, but I did test it. It takes about 18 packages to get that fourth one to light up, so that's actually quite a bit, and I'm probably not going to fill it much more than that. So this actually works pretty well for me. I did end up adding a spacer block because the fact that you could see the repeaters through the lamps was kind of bugging me a little bit, but it does still fit and it does still work. So I'm okay with that. I also added an indicator for the output chest, so if there's anything in there, there will be a light above it that is on. I just maybe had a small problem with the current setup, that I was accidentally powering one of the hoppers. Powering a hopper locks it, so locking one is essentially locking the entire line. So I just kind of rerouted them around that spot so I don't have to worry about it being powered. And I got it to work. It's not the prettiest solution, but sometimes the less pretty solutions work in a pinch. I did get it to work though, and for as little room as I had, and the restrictions the hoppers gave me, I think I didn't do too bad of a job. Definitely not an expert, and it's not the prettiest redstone I've ever done, but it works, and that's all that matters. Once I had that up and running, I kind of wanted to try out the yellow corundum lamps, although I think I kind of prefer the orange one, but you can tell me which one you prefer. I then spent a little bit more time decorating, and then I realized I need to actually hook everything up so I can actually use this. So let's do that. So I specifically mentioned getting distracted with the lights because I figured I was gonna have to do some things a little out of order, because I spent some time explaining how I was going to actually turn everything on and then spend 10 minutes doing that instead. I just wanted to clarify that first. So I could turn it on using a lever, but I still wanted to give myself the option of being able to turn it on both from the hallway and from the storage room in case I wanted to put a module in there. So I decided to go with some buttons. Buttons are nice because they just send a quick pulse and then turn back off, whereas a lever just stays on until you turn it off. But I do need it to stay on, so I decided to incorporate a copper bulb. Because copper bulbs just need to be powered just a little bit, and then they will stay on until they are powered again. So I can push the same button to turn it on and then off, which is great. Copper bulbs are so amazing for redstone. I had to backport them, but I'm so glad I was able to do that. So to attach the copper bulb to either of these buttons, I'm actually going to be using redstone links. These can essentially wirelessly emit redstone signals, which is so useful. I honestly wish these were vanilla too, but I can press either button and control the copper bulb. Which you might think, well, how is that useful? The nice thing about these is you can actually set frequencies, which means you can have multiple sets and they won't interact with each other as long as they have different items placed in these little boxes. So I could use the copper bulb to then power a separate set, which I can then hook up to pretty much everything around the machine that would need to be on when the copper bulb is on. So now, if I were to press either button, this could now be powering the entire machine. So now that we're caught up, why don't we actually do that? Cool. Now I just have to make sure everything is powered and is timed correctly, and we should be good to go. Lava's going down. Yep, okay, it works. I just forgot I would set myself on fire. Okay, so now I just need to do a proper test. So that light came on, and if I turn it on, looks like the lava's going down, the belts have started. I could honestly make that a little bit faster too, so that's good to know. And it looks like our item vault is now empty. And everything is just about through, so now I just want to double check and make sure everything over here is working properly, so that should go off any second now. There it goes. And the light came on. Okay, great. For the lights, I kind of wanted to include something a little fancy so that they're a little more fun to use. So I added some note blocks and some repeaters on various delays so they could actually play in a sequence, which honestly is probably one of my favorite things about this machine now. They just need to be tuned first. There was just maybe one more thing I needed to add before I considered this done. At this point I still didn't have anything to actually empty the dropper in case it never got fully filled up, so it just took one redstone link connected to the one that tells the machine that it's on, and an observer. All I had to do was just point the observer at the redstone link, so if it turns on or turns off, the observer detects that and sends a little pulse to the redstone above it. And I also decided to add a note block, just for fun. This does mean that anytime there is a package made, it will also make that noise. So I'm honestly okay with that. And now... Hang on. That wasn't right. You know, I didn't think to actually delay it. So I'm gonna fix that real quick. I think 4 because it's the same as the 4th note. Oh, that's not right either. Oh, you know what? The observer actually delays it an extra tick. Okay, yeah, I think I should be able to just bump this down to 3, and then maybe it'll line up. Because it's the same as that one, so... There we go. I also had the option of doing emerald or gold. But I think I'm going to stick with emerald for now. You can let me know if you have a preference. I just went with emerald, so... Other than that, I think we're good. You know, now that this is working, I honestly wonder just how much faster it is compared to the old one. Actually, you know what? Let's test that. Okay, so the little one took a little over 4 minutes, which, if my math is right, means I have for quite a while been putting up with a machine that can only process an entire package in 16 minutes. So, that makes me even happier to announce that our new high-capacity smelter only took 45 seconds. I know someone somewhere probably has a more efficient machine than this, but I'm okay with that. It definitely feels faster than a vanilla Super-Smelter, and has the advantage that it doesn't actually require fuel. I'll probably spend some time making this look better sometime, but for now it works and I'm happy with that, so I think I'm gonna leave it as it is. I have so many nether bricks just from testing this, which means it works well, and I'm okay with that. It's also nice that I now have one less process to rely on that tiny little machine for. Ideally, next time we should be able to retire that, and also maybe just remove it. I should probably start restocking on machine parts and getting ready for that soon. So, that being said, if you made it this far, I really appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!